Okay. Well, shall we get started? Today is a Wednesday, January 22nd, and this is the Buncombe County Home and Community Care Block Grant Advisory Committee meeting. And we have not met since September.
It's right before everything went nuts.
Absolutely. Well put. Well put, Suzanne. So trying to get back in the swing of things. Is there any changes to the agenda? If not, I would say the agenda is approved. Hearing no negatives, I would approve the agenda and then approve or revise the meeting minutes. Any comments, questions, corrections, deletions? Okay, hearing none, then I would say we can approve the meeting minutes. Expenditure reports. I would like to ask Allison and Billy to kind of give us an update on the Buncombe County Supplemental Aging Funds for the fiscal year of 2025. I will share, and they can provide more detail regarding this fiscal year's reduction in those funding.
I'm happy to speak to that.
Okay. And I know it was hard, and
it was hard.
Yeah.
So we were asked, so let me just preface this by saying that the county is in a very difficult budget place. I don't know what you've read or seen, but you know, after the hurricane, due to tourism, due to property tax, things that normally bring, you know, the county depends on to pay the bills. And so we were asked, budgets have been cut all over the county by significant amounts. And of the current funding left, we were asked to cut $125,000 from the Buncombe County Supplemental Aging Funds. We had, Billy had sent out questions to the people receiving the funds, the grants, who had money that they thought they were going to be able to spare. Daystay had said they had $4,000. So we cut $4,000 from them. And then the rest of it, we actually, Ryan and I did projections based on the number of clients being served by in-home aid, the number, you know, because there was during the hurricane time, you know, there was a reduction in the people that were allowed to be, or that could be served based on the hurricane for staffing and that type of thing. And so we cut the rest of the 121 out of in-home aid. We think that, we think we're okay, based on the projections for what has been spent and what is to be spent. So that's where we are with that. So the 125 was taken out and those contracts have been reduced. So that's where that stands.
And we understand that the in-home aid program took a big hit. So we
and I do want to say, Susan and I did have that discussion before we did it. Susan and I talked about where would be, you know, the appropriate place and kind of we went through that together. So
yeah, and I will fess up. I made the decision not to provide that information to the committee prior to the holiday season so that it wouldn't spoil your celebrations. So I'll take the hit on that and let you know. It was pretty much my decision to wait until this meeting to provide that information. I think
Oh, I'll go ahead and revise the total allocations on those two for next month, since this didn't happen until like January. So next month, then in-home aid will be reduced by 121,000, and day stay allocation will be reduced by 4,000. So they'll be adjusted for next month.
Okay. I'm looking at day stay. There it is. Okay. The one thing, looking at the Buncombe County Supplemental Aging Fund schedule for the Unite, which was a new provider. They have yet to spend any of their funding. I see that as a new provider, there are difficulties coming on board. And I'm don't want to discuss it in too much detail right now because we've got other things to talk about. But I think what we have to think about in the future, if we bring on a new provider, especially with the Buncombe County Supplemental Aging Funds, that contract process can be daunting for new people. And so whatever we can do in the future to help them, that would probably be appreciated by the new providers. I don't know the latest information about Unite. I think I'm sure, I mean, they were starting up and then the hurricane hit. So they're probably struggling with that program, but I guess I'll wait for another month and see. Billy, can you provide any insight on?
Yes. Yes, I can. I reached out to Unite because they said that they were going to start the senior center in January, and they did. I called Norma Brown, the executive director, and then also I emailed her and Jose Infanzon Chavez. And so he sent me a report today, and they had their first session last week, and he said it was a wonderful turnout of 7 participants, and the participants were from diverse backgrounds like Colombia, El Salvador, Mexico, and Venezuela. There were 7, and he said it was a really successful first meeting, and they had really they had like an icebreaker and really good participant activity. And the key topics of interest that they'd like to explore would be fall prevention and navigating current community concerns, like in this ever-changing social and political landscape. And they've decided they're going to meet next week as well. So Unite is very excited about the interest of the participants, and I've sent them emails about how to do the invoices, and so I resent that, and they can always email me with questions. So we'll probably get our first invoice by February 10th.
That's great news, Billy. That sounds very encouraging.
Yeah, I do want to add that, especially after our conversation, Susan, that we had, and we were talking about the difficulty for new providers, that Billy did meet with our finance. We talked about her meeting with finance to try to figure out the forms that are needed. And, you know, a lot of that information was provided at the funded provider last week so that people are clear in advance about having to have liability insurance and some of those pieces, because those are some of the pieces that end up being barriers, I think, when people don't know that they're going to have those types of things, and then they don't have enough insurance, and then there's a delay in getting those things that are required. And so we trying to make the process easier by people having that information in advance prior to applying so that they know these are the things that are going to be expected. And then I'm hopeful that will make getting the programs off the ground a bit easier. So I appreciate Billy doing that and meeting and getting the information about, specific forms that the county requires. So.
Excellent. And Allison referenced the provider meeting last week, and just as a sort of a sidebar, from that meeting, one of our newer providers for this, was it this year or last year, the home repair, D Williams?
Yes.
Tomorrow there's going to be a meeting with a Zoom call with her, myself, Zach, and Billy. So continuing to support the new providers and see what we can do to help them be successful. And Dee was very funny. She said she could teach a class on how to take care of all the forms and stuff from the county. Well, that's good news about Unite. I'm not going to scrutinize the reports too closely, because there was just so much disruption, especially here in Buncombe County. I tell you. Zach, can you tell me for Buncombe County, for the congregate nutrition sites, what's the status on them now? Do you know?
Yeah, so they are back up and running. There are a few sites that they are waiting to get testing back for their plumbing to make sure they don't have lead pipes. But they should be back up and running at most of those centers. I think the only ones that they are testing is Shiloh, which is only a limited site, so they only operate 3 days a week, and those are only to-go meals. And I believe Black Mountain, it's either Black Mountain or the Senior Opportunities Center,
At
Grove Street, I believe is what they call it now.
Okay, at Lakeview?
Yeah.
Yeah. Their basement was flooded.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Yeah, and
add
that's,
to that.
oh, go ahead, Billy.
Oh, so I emailed the new dining program manager because I was curious, because people have been asking me when they were going to open, and she said, like as Zach said, Shiloh and Grove Street, they're doing grab and go until they can get the lead testing done, and that will take, I think, a couple more weeks. And then Lakeview Community Center had significant structural damage, so that's grab and go. And at Weaverville First Baptist Church, that's dine, like, in-person dining Wednesday through Friday.
So Billy, am I correct? So those 4 that you mentioned are the ones that the Council on Aging is supporting?
They oversee those dining sites, yes.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear they're doing grab and go. That was very helpful during the pandemic. That was a lesson learned, I think. Okay. Grant applications. I hate to bring some more bad news. Now, Billy, did you send that email out to our whole group? The one about the budget cut for fiscal year 2026?
Yes. Everyone on this group is on my age-friendly list, and I sent it to everyone.
Mm-hmm. Well, that came out, what, yesterday? You sent that to us?
Yes, yesterday.
Yesterday. So, you want to share what the county is saying? And I mean, I think for those who haven't had a chance to actually read the Buncombe County website on that issue, that might be helpful. So can you bring us up to speed, please?
Yeah, so Buncombe County Management has asked that all community investment funding be paused while county management and the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners look at and assess the overall budget for FY 26. And the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners had their first meeting about this last Thursday, and they're gonna have a second meeting about it on March 20th. So we're really not gonna know how this impacts the Buncombe County Supplemental Aging Fund.
But I mean, I know you don't have a lot of answers, but
I think
for
she
March
meant-
20th.
Oh, we did.
So-
We lost the last part of you, Billy. We didn't hear the last part. We said we're not going to know about the supplemental aging funds till what'd you say? March 20th. Is that what
Oh.
you said?
Yeah, March 20th. Yeah, so the next county commissioner meeting about this is gonna be March 20th. So we won't know anything until March 20th about the Buncombe County Supplemental Aging Funding.
So how do we address the issue that our grant application applies to both block grant and county funds? Can we release the application and say it's only for a block grant now? Can we do that? Because
I think so. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, because I don't think we should hold up HCCBG applicants. And, let me know what y'all decide, because then I can talk to the grant administrator about releasing the current application for HCCBG applicants. And then I can let the whole community know.
So just to be clear, the county has asked us to hold off on applications for the next fiscal year for folks who want supplemental funds, correct? So we're
Yeah.
not going to evaluate those applications yet, but we should move on, for the HCCBG, the federal funded sources for those applications. I think that makes sense, doesn't it?
it makes sense to me. If everyone on the committee wants to move forward with asking Billy to talk to the grants folks about the fact that we need to get the block grant application out, we can, all in favor, let's do a vote. Let's do a quick vote. All in favor of asking Billy and Allison to talk to the contract department about releasing the application for block grant funding, please raise your hand or say aye.
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 Any opposition, anyone opposed? Okay, hearing no opposition, the motion is passed that our county representatives will talk to the contract folks and report back to us on how we can release the application to block grant providers.
And do we want to extend the date? Originally it was March 7th. With all this uncertainty, should we extend the due date?
Well, Billy, they haven't even seen the new application. Not everybody's seen the new well, I sent the new application out. But
Is there
My-
gonna need to be modification on the application or something, a note or something that says something about supplemental aging funds, or is that two totally separate forms?
No, the
Not.
application goes out to both.
Yeah, like something at the
Uh,
top or something highlighted or something that says these are not open yet, or I mean,
Well, do you, I guess my question back to you guys is, does the county have the ability to say, no, we're not going to let you release the applications for block grant for federal funds?
I wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't think so either, but I don't work for the county.
I don't think so. I don't think they're, I mean, Billy, you may have had more conversation, but
No, I don't think so. I mean, I know that there's other community investment programs that are like funded by the state. So um this pause in county funds doesn't apply to them, just like it doesn't apply to the HCCBG funding, but we can ask just to make sure.
And when were we going to release the application anyway?
It
I'm,
was supposed to be yesterday, and I
oh,
sent out that important notice that it was delayed.
my concern with pushing back the due date is it gives us less time to review them.
Okay.
I don't know. What do other people feel about that? Because the 7th of March is like a week and a half before 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it would be, that would be 2.5 weeks before our next meeting. But if we push it one more week, they'd only give us like a week and a half to do a first pass. And then we have to make a final recommendation in April.
That's cutting it a little close, I think.
And
That's
I
my
also,
gut sense.
yeah.
Okay.
So are we all happy with keeping the March 7th date for the applications to be done?
I am.
I am.
Yes.
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 Yes. Anybody opposed? No. So, okay, I think that answers your question, Billy. We're going to keep the 7th as the due date. And what I would like to bring forth right now, since I'm looking at March, I would like to do our March 26th meeting in person and maybe extend it to 2 hours so that we have enough time to discuss and have everybody's opinion heard in person.
I like that idea.
Yes.
Yes. That works.
Okay. So,
Zach, can you make sure that the room at Land of Sky is reserved?
Yeah. I will check when I get to my computer. You said March 26th, right?
Yes,
yes.
thank you.
Oh my goodness. Okay. That being said, Billy, can you share your screen with the application and we can go through it real quick for those who were not on the work group?
Yes, let me pull it up, the application real quick.
Okay, thank you so much.
Can you see that?
Yes. Is it big enough for everybody?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, you all are probably pretty tired of seeing this, but we'll scroll through it pretty quickly. The first 2 pages are pretty much the same. There's a little change in the narrative. The one thing on the overview, if people go to that website, there are 7 sections in the bottom, which are really vaguely described. And we're just trying to encourage them to read those because those are the actual block grant federal requirements. And then scrolling through this whole above the grant, the paragraph right above grant guidelines on page 2, that was we condensed like 3 paragraphs and made that a lot easier to read. Grant guidelines we'll go over after just scrolling through this, but that we just made sure everything was all the how do I say this? All the hyperlinks worked. And hopefully when we did the funded provider meeting last week, I told everybody that they need to be honest and say yes or no if they read the guidelines. So hopefully they will. The next page under program proposals, number 4 was a combination of 2 prior year's questions. And I tried to emphasize on the call last week, include supporting data. And I tried to point them to like the Department of Health and Human Services aging profiles for the county. And I encourage them to use county statistics where possible, because I mean, this is for our county, for Buncombe County, and giving a general nationwide statistic, although helpful, it's just not the same as having county specific information. And then the number 5, does your organization keep a record of residents who request service but are unable to be accommodated? So this was the kind of trying to get a better idea than last year we asked about a wait list. And we didn't really get a good response, in my opinion, to the wait list question. So what we're trying to get here with this question, and whether it'll work this year or not, I'm not sure, but I tried to emphasize on the call to the providers that, hey, how do you know do you know that there's a need out there? Do you not, for example, do you not market because you know you don't have capacity to have any more people? Are you hearing from, I don't know, how are you hearing about the services that are needed, but you can't provide that service? So who knows what will come back to this question? Or whether anybody can quantify it. But I want to at least try to get from the providers their understanding of what the need is for their service. So that's kind of where that was. And this match, next thing about match, that's what we're going to talk with Dee about tomorrow. It was unclear, the in-kind versus the cash match. Performance measures. Now, Billy, do you want to share with the committee the new requirement about the county when they first open up, that they're going to have to, identify vulnerable? They have a questionnaire. Can you share that conversation?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if I can't see if my audio's on with this screen sharing. Yeah, so the county is working towards having equitable partnerships, and they've they've come up with a questionnaire that applicants will see when they go into the grant login website. It's going to be a separate attachment, and they just want to see, like, get information to see if the people that apply for grants are serving historically marginalized populations. So it was like a really quick 6-question questionnaire, like you know, which community investment fund are you applying for, and then it asks which historically marginalized communities does your organization serve, and it has like a checkbox like Black, Asian American, Native American, LGBTQIA. There were like 7 or 8 of them, but there is one that says other, and I encourage applicants to put in older adults because they couldn't put in like all the historically marginalized populations, and I just think that that's important for so we can still receive funding. And then there was a question like, how does the organization serve these historically marginalized populations? And then they wanted to know which zip codes they that they worked in, and then had they ever applied for grant Buncombe County funding before, and that was the extent of it.
Well, I thought Billy's suggestion of including older adults as what they should, as what the grantees could put in the other, it makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So kudos to Billy. So continuing through the application, the performance measures, I don't think we've really changed anything in those questions. Coordination, no change. The DEIA section was reduced to just 1 question rather than 3. And there's an ability to add, if the organization has a document, they can include it in the appendix. And I don't think, Billy, there were no changes to the in-home aid to my recollection.
Yes, just the levels were changed. It should be, that should not be on there about level 3.
Oh, I probably picked the wrong one, but that wasn't.
So
That
there
wasn't
shouldn't
on-
be any information on there about level 3, except that we don't serve level 3 folks.
You know, I think Billy and I had that conversation, Allison, and I asked her, was there anyone on level 3 currently? And she said 1 person. So I didn't think.
There's nobody now.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, times change.
Yeah, and Allison had you know, had contacted me about getting rid of the level 3 information. I did. I probably clicked on the wrong application, but I'll make sure that it's not on the final application. But I made those changes when I sent it over to the grants administrator.
Yeah, I think I saw the changes too, so I know they're done.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, Billy. And then now can we shift gears and go to the budget page?
Let's see.
Let's see. So when you get there, Billy, and you get it
Can
up
you
on.
see it?
No, I'm still looking at the application.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. It says, let me share it again. Now can you see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. For those who are on the work group, it might look just a little different. So I kind of reacted after we had all met and agreed on it. I kind of got feedback. Was it from you, Billy, or one of someone
I
else?
think it was me.
Yeah, that it was a little confusing. So I added the section 1 header, the section 2, and then the section 3 to kind of say, so section 1 and section 2 deal with prior year. And this took a little bit of explaining, but Elizabeth from Mountain Care was very helpful. So the confusion came when you looked at the organizational revenue, and then underneath of there, the second line that says prior year HCCBG and or Buncombe County supplemental aging allocation. And the confusion with that then became, you go to section 2 and you're only looking at the program that was funded in the prior year. And it has the same basically the same verbiage about, prior year block grant and supplemental funds. So if you think about Mountain Care and how they send us, I guess it's 3 or 4 applications. So in section 1, that would be their entire organization. And the second line item would include all of the Buncombe County supplemental funds and block grant funds. But when you move to section 2, which relates only to the program that is in the application, then they would put their program revenue and only the funding stream for that program in the block grant or supplemental aging funds. And then section 3 was really relates to what's your budget for the fiscal year, the upcoming fiscal year. And let's see. And I don't think I changed that other than adding the section number. But there was a question raised by one of the participants in last week's funded provider meeting about how do you define donation? And if you're getting donations so that you can put it in the match area down below.
Not
And-
for services.
Excuse me?
Donations are money, it's money people give you that is not for services.
Could you elaborate, Eileen? It's a little,
Well, I mean, if you look at the IRS, if you give somebody a donation, it's an outright donation, it's a gift.
right.
And if you get services for it, it's not a gift. So, I mean, I don't see why there would be a problem. What do they think might be a donation but isn't?
Well, they were wondering whether they were getting donations in order to allow them to have a cash match.
Well, who was giving them the money?
I didn't ask that question.
Well, I think that's probably what makes the difference. I don't know why it wouldn't be a donation.
So if they use that money for, see, I'm still struggling with this because for programs, this was a block grant provider, which required a in-kind or cash 10% match,
Right.
right? So does this schedule here in front of us is the match included in total revenue, or is it just there so that we know?
I mean, why would it not? I don't understand why it would, if somebody is giving you money,
Yeah,
I don't know why it would make any difference.
So the total revenue would reflect all the money that they get, and the match section just identifies the amount of money they get from all sources that serves as their match. I
yeah,
don't
and
see why they see a problem with that.
okay, well, I'm looking at the line item that says total revenue and match, which means that line item probably should
Oh,
just say match
yes.
or nothing at all.
Oh, okay.
I'd just say total match so that it's clear what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a carve-out section, basically, that clarifies an issue.
Which in the application, there's detail instructions on how to calculate it. Billy, can we still make that change?
Yes, what do you want me to say? Total match?
Yeah, just get rid of revenue and say just total match.
Oh, okay. So
Oh,
at the bottom, to get rid of revenue and then just put total match.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm here trying to scroll your screen, Billy.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of, so that's where we are with the budget. And you know, it will, like the question about capacity and able to, or wait list, or whatever the question I'm trying to remember. We'll see if this, we'll see if this is even helpful, or people better understand it, or we actually get the information that we need. I think for me, and I don't mean to be cruel, but understanding the other funding sources would be helpful with the decision on how to allocate our limited resources.
I agree.
Yes.
yes.
Susan, can I ask a question?
Certainly, Greg.
When you asked about their budget, are we assuming they all have the same fiscal year as we're dealing with? Or will that make a difference?
Excellent question. And we have known that not everyone follows the county fiscal year.
Uh-huh.
So yes, it may be difficult for some people.
I didn't know if the verbiage needs to reflect that, or if that makes a difference at all.
Mm.
I don't know.
No,
Okay.
good question. I think I'm trying to remember how grantees have been dealing with that over the years, because that's not a new.
Well,
It's
do they
not a-
just not put their revenue for a year, whatever year it is? Like,
Well, I'm looking at the application itself and it says complete the budget form, save it to your computer, then upload by clicking upload to file. Prepare the budget to correspond to Buncombe County's fiscal year, July 1 to June 30th.
So they have to adjust and extrapolate.
Yeah.
Really?
So,
That puts it on them, I guess, because they've got to figure it out.
Yeah.
They lined up the same way as we are fiscally.
yeah, unfortunately.
All right. Okay.
Zach or Billy, do either of you have any feedback on how people have dealt with it in the past?
In regards to the application or the budget?
In regards to the budget, preparing a budget related to the fiscal year if they were on a calendar year.
No, I've not heard any complaints, but then again, that's mainly because the people I deal with know that we operate with the state fiscal year.
Okay.
Are we to assume there's either the fiscal year we're using or the calendar year? Is that pretty much one or the other? You know what I'm saying?
Well, we're on the application, we're asking them to adjust to the county
Right.
fiscal year, which is also, I guess, the state's fiscal year.
Right. But
So
besides that or a calendar year, there wouldn't be any other kind of fiscal year that other groups use.
no. And if they can adjust to the fiscal year, then I mean, that allows us to compare all the providers based on the same time frame.
Right. Okay.
So I have 422. Let's see. We do have the guidelines to go look at. I'm trying to. Billy, do you want to take that? I mean, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I'll share and talk about it.
Yeah, just briefly, and then we can ask if there's any questions, concerns, or issues that we need to keep in mind for our next meeting. Back to you, Billy, for the guidelines.
Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, let me share my screen. And then I pulled it up. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So I basically updated the guidelines. So it has the same purpose that the programs are for in support of older adults and their caregivers age 60 and above, and then made sure to include that the under purpose that the county funds are for the same demographic that don't necessarily fit the HCCBG qualifications. Because last year we didn't, and on the application, it didn't really say that the Buncombe County funds were for age 60 and above and their caregivers. And then I made sure to, for the Buncombe County Aging Plan, you know, I included links to it and the strategic plan, and I made sure to put down the mission of the age-friendly action plan, that older adults in Buncombe County are safe, well, and engaged, and also that we're going to be updating this action plan in 2025, and then I listed the goals there. And it just, the funding talks about that it's still to be determined. There wasn't a change there. And then the change here was community service providers. It was like a one sentence, and Susan and I and Allison talked about it, and it was just a little confusing. So we put this next set, so the eligibility of public or private nonprofit agencies or organizations or governmental agencies. And then Susan came up with this sentence: an exception can be made to fund a for-profit if the aforementioned agencies are unavailable to provide the necessary services. A procurement process will be used to select and contract for these services. Like one year, no one applied for in-home aid funding, and it was around 2017 or 2018, and it went to a for-profit in-home agency, Premier Home Health, and even now, then Buncombe County managing the in-home aid program subcontracts to for-profit in-home agencies to carry out the work. So that was pretty much the major change. And then it has the timeline of when it was going to open up and close. And then people can apply through access the grant software there at that link, but then it's also on the Aging Services website. So then it talks about the review committee. That's you, all of you members on this committee, and there wasn't any changes there. And the review process, and when the awards will be coming out, the performance, asking to do the mid-year and end-of-year report, there wasn't anything changed. Talking about HCCBG funded providers, this isn't new, but it has the link to ARMS because they'll have to report their units of service. And then it has, what funded providers have, a contract, and they're going to have to provide all these documents. And that there wasn't that many changes, just what I updated. Mainly the dates and the eligibility, so it'd be more understandable, and the goals so that people could take a look at that.
And I will share that on the funded provider call, there was a lot, there were folks that are trying to understand how they could write their grants so that they would be more, they'd be more likely to be funded. And my comment to them was, answer the question asked. I think over the years, I just struggle with the question. The question is pretty straightforward, and then the response from the grantees is all over the place. So I don't know if anybody else had that same experience, but it was hopefully they'll be more concise. I asked them to be concise and to use county data where they had it available.
Sounds good.
So I have 429. I do would encourage everyone to read the Buncombe County webpage referenced in Billy's email about the FY 2026 reductions. I know one of the commissioners, new commissioner Jennifer Hudson, I think is her last name. She is actually worked in,
Horton. Jennifer Horton. Yep.
oh, excellent. Thank you. Thank you. She's actually I think she owns some adult care homes. So she may be more attuned to some of the needs of older adults and I don't know, maybe there's some way to be able to make a case that supplemental aging funds are truly helping with the recovery for folks who are older adults and are vulnerable. My thoughts.
I think that's a key argument too.
I mean, this is we are in uncharted territories, as the expression goes. So, but I mean, when I look at those funded providers for the county funds, it just,
I know.
it breaks
Yeah.
my heart if they have to go without.
Yes. It-
I have nightmares regularly.
Wow. Well, everybody, I have 4:31. It was great to see everybody. I do apologize for all the confusion about the Zoom meeting invites. I will try to be better next time.
It happens.
We all got here.
Technology.
We all got here. It's okay.
Yeah.
All
I
good.
will say before we go, the 26th of March is available, so I reserved the large conference room.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I'll bring Kit Kats for somebody.
Aw.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, or concerns before we sign off? Okay, well, everybody stay warm.
Thank you. You
Yes,
too.
thank you.
Thanks. Bye,
Next
everyone.
month.
Bye.
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 Hmm.